In preparing for a team like Navy with this offense, you've seen it at North Dakota State. You saw this version of offense. Scotty saw it both there and in Wyoming with Air Force. How unique of a challenge is this offense?
It's a real big challenge. You know, it's had us up late at night and doing a lot more game planning, and probably taken away a little bit from the developmental side of things we want with some of the younger guys. We're practicing all the developmental things, but not getting probably as much time watching and reviewing the developmental tape, because there's a new formation we're trying to get everybody aligned to. This is foreign territory, from what I understand, talking to Coach Bratton, Coach Klein and stuff. Boy, we haven't faced this in a long time here. And so I'm fortunate Van Malone and Buddy Wyatt were at SMU. And those guys face Navy every year. So we have enough familiarity on our staff. But that's great. What we know is great, but it doesn't matter if you don't know it as a player. And so we've just had to go slow, easy steps. That's why it's so important. Last weekend we got a little bit of work in, and this finals week, I know these kids have a lot on their plate, and we're not out there very long from a practice standpoint, but we have to get a lot of stuff done this week because it is very challenging. And if you're not right with everybody's responsibility and eyes and reads, you guys saw it as well as I do. That quarterback's going to run for 400, and so it's a big challenge.
One of your big issues this year that you've brought back up was wrapping up, tackling properly.
Mm-hmm.
Does that really get your players' attention now? Because if they don't do it, they're in big trouble.
Yeah, well, because there's one guy assigned to that, and if he misses the tackle, I can't leave my responsibility, or I've already tackled my responsibility. It's going the distance. So it's still, but you have to make up for some of that with running to the football, with your eyes correct. You know the corners in this defense are essentially in man coverage, but you better have some zone eyes in case something pops, because let's be honest, they're not going to throw it 25 times against us. That's not been their MO. But yeah, everything. Tackling. Our biggest concern right now is getting the scout team to play the offense. That's a huge challenge. It looks great right now, but it's slow motion football. That's going to happen so much faster whenever the 31st is. So we're trying. Right now, our scout team's doing really good, but the first 3 days didn't look like option football. Now it's starting to. And the other thing is the cut block. It's no fun as a defensive tackle. You're playing off of cuts all day long at practice. Well, we're not going to cut you all day at practice. But we've got to be really smart and be able to say, okay, guys, here's where you're going to get cut. We got to work those drills.
One more. Have you faced anyone this season that used cut blocks half as much as what you'll see with Navy?
No. I would say we use them on our offense as much as anybody does in the Big 12.
Specifically with the defense, what has the reaction been to facing this kind of a matchup? Is it a tough one to get them fired up for?
No, it's been unbelievable the amount of focus that they've had, because I think they're excited to learn something, excited to see a different offense, excited about the challenge of facing the Naval Academy, because it's a Naval Academy. And I think our practices have been really, really good. And I'm excited because some guys are playing positions they've really never played before. So what, you're a strong safety, that doesn't mean anything in this defense or the defenses that we're playing, as well as just the fact that there's eye discipline and there's responsibility, and everybody knows that if we mess up, okay, that was whose responsibility. So there's a lot of accountability as well.
Was it a big change for you preparing for a bowl after years and years of going straight into the playoffs?
Yes, it still is. I'm still trying to piece together some things as far as schedule. But, we were on the road for 2 weeks, which I've never been on the road, because we've just been going from playoff game to playoff game. This week's probably a little bit more of a routine as far as there's finals, so we're finding times to practice. And the fact that there's not a culmination at the end of every week. There's culmination on December 31st, so you don't have to be quite as diligent as far as we have to get this done today, this done tomorrow. I'm learning on the run. I'm utilizing resources that I have in the Power 5 level that our head coaches.
And how do you balance that line between preparing for the future and winning this game during these practices?
for starters, you owe it to the seniors first. That's the first and foremost thing. You owe it to the seniors to send them out with a opportunity to win the football game by preparing the best you can. Then you owe it to the program to make sure that we continue to develop. And there's not going to be a practice that we don't work on development. So every practice we've had so far, and we've had half a dozen or so, we've dedicated some substantial time to development. But had this been conventional offense, maybe we'd spend more time with development. But because of the unique offense that we're facing, you have no choice but to be able to spend a little bit more time trying to scheme it.
How do you get the defensive backs to buy in and stay assignment sound against an offense like this?
One, we've got really mature defensive backs. I'm excited because Denzel Goolsby is really excited about facing this. Wayne Jones is excited. McPherson's excited. Jonathan Alexander, Brock Monty, Ross Elder, the core people that are going to be in the mix a lot are excited. The corners, it's tough because you're on an island a lot, and yeah, if you get a crack, you got to replace it. It's not as taxing on those guys mentally as it is the linebackers and safeties and those guys. But I think they're excited about the challenge.
There been some young guys that have flashed to you so far in bowl practice?
Tyrone Lewis is going to be a really, really good football player here. And excited for him because it's clicking to him. I think Will Jones is going to be a really good player for us. I'm thinking of a couple of defensive guys. We have a lot of young defensive linemen that are getting better. And then I think all of our running backs, because we're using all those running backs in the development phase, even if they've played like Joe and Jacardier have, but we're using all those guys, and those guys are improving.
Injury updates. I know you had some guys kind of banged up.
Yeah, I think everybody, maybe I'm missing a name, but I think everybody has practiced. The Joaquins, the Maliks are all practicing now. We're not going to the ground tackle, so I believe everybody, unless somebody else missed that you want to ask about specifically.
And just like guys like A.J. Parker, I know that he's banged up. Justin Hughes, are they able to do anything at all?
No, Justin's still doing his normal running with our training staff. A.J. is I think running in the pool. I would doubt A.J. would play in this game. Maybe he could, but we're not in a hurry to rush him back. And he is doing well. Jogging and stuff, but I don't envision him playing.
Having an early signing period, does that force you to change how you prepare for a bowl game because of the last minute time on the road, or would that be pretty typical anyway?
That's going to be pretty typical anyway. The early signing period's just rushed everything. I think the bigger thing that it's done is forced you into having more official visits during a season. Where in the past, if it were a February period, you'd bring some guys in during the season, but the core of your guys you'd bring in the month of January. Now, I would say, I know everybody that signed with us came sometime between June and the 1st of December.
When you met Skylar here in this room, kind of reacquainted yourself with them after the North Dakota State signing and recruiting with them, did you envision that the ride would be this good first year?
Absolutely. Well, that's the way you have to envision it. You can't say, well, I envisioned it being challenging, and you guys know as well as I do, we've had some challenges now. We've had some rough spots, but if you continue to do all the things, and I'm not going to go through all the litany of things that we talk about, you have a chance to be successful if you keep believing and you keep having great days, and our guys have done that. And so I felt better about it after I met all the seniors, because there were so many of them, and they were committed to, hey, we're going to get back to the postseason. All right, getting back to the postseason is one thing. Now, how many games can we win? And it's difficult. It's difficult to win in this league, and you guys know that as well. And we had some really, really tough battles, and we found ways to win games in the fourth quarter, which I hope our young players see that, and it carries us into the future.
And how would you describe the building relationship with Skylar throughout the year, and how that will foster and continue on?
Yeah, I love him. He's a great kid. I love his competitiveness. I love the fact that he's wanting to be great, that he's challenging his teammates to be great, to come with him. He makes everybody around him better. You know, when he's in the game, when he's at practice, everybody's a little bit better because he's just got that energy to him. And I know that he has a bright, bright future in this game, and so excited for myself that I get to spend another year with him because he's impacted my life, and hopefully I've done the same to him.
Coach, obviously Navy just played Army pretty recently. Does the timing of that game, how does it, I guess, affect or to have a fresh game of film as opposed to other people who
Yeah, you watch it and you look at it, but they're so similar to each other. What do they do to each other? You know, it's like you have that rivalry that you pull out all the stops and stuff. I don't know if that's the case, but I know that they play each other so often that they know each other so well. You know, we were recruiting that whole day, so we didn't really see the game. We've seen it now on tape, but the one thing that you know is they're really aggressive on defense, and that's about the only thing I know with their defense right now is they're really aggressive in blitz, just because Mess tells me that, because I've been on the other side of the ball so much this last week and a half. And offensively, it's the challenge of being able to defend a great quarterback that has their offense running on all cylinders.
Have you had any further position changes or looking at anything coming in the spring?
Not right now. No, we're so depleted by position that we're just, you know, practicing the guys of the positions that they know, and we're evaluating skill set to see, okay, should we move that kid come in the winter?
Loose in the last game. Is he someone where he's still climbing and expected to play a lot in the bowl
Yeah,
game?
we expect him to play in the bowl game, but I'm hoping we have a healthier James and a healthier Jordan, that those guys deserve the opportunity as seniors. But, yeah, Jacartier's in the mix, and so is Harry, and we at least will be better there at the tailback because we'll have a lot more bodies.
Running this offense that Navy does is, for a quarterback, is kind of an art form. I mean, it's like a dance almost. Yeah. How good's Malcolm Perry at this?
Oh, he's as good as I've seen, and I saw Jarek McKinnon at Georgia Southern played quarterback, that played running back for the Vikes, and I think he was with the 49ers, did this at Georgia Southern as a quarterback, and I think he's better than what he was at it. And that's saying something because Jarek McKinnon's a 1,000-yard rusher in the NFL, and this kid Perry's really, really special, talented kid, breaks tackles, is quick, is fast, makes the great read. He's playing at a high level.
Chris, how does Navy utilize the passing game? Do they throw a lot? The guys out of the backfield and
it'll be more play action, verticals, and get your eyes wrong and slip you past the safeties or slip you past the corners, and that's where the eye discipline with the corners and safeties has to be on point, because if you're not, then and you can't give up a quick death on it. You have to make those guys move the field.
Yeah, every team gets banged up during the season, but just a couple words on just how this team was able to bounce back. We talked about the injuries and some of your key guys being out. How were they able to respond?
Just next man up. The ability to count on the guy next to you to perform at a high level because he's practiced enough. That's why we do the double reps, so that those guys get as many reps as the starters do. So when their number's called, you don't know when that's going to be, but you better be able to rise up and be able to make plays because your teammates are counting on you. And that's something that I'm so impressed with this football team, because they don't want to let each other down. And when you have a football team that doesn't want to let each other down, usually good things happen.